Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Equine Episode Examination, where today we will be discussing the newest uh, Equestria Girls special that premiered last Saturday on here in the States, at least. Movie magic. So obviously there is a theme between all the titles for the for these specials. So
and a theme between this, and a sort of theme between this episode of E and the 12 we had on Monday, since they're both about movies. So.
Yep. So, today we'll be discussing movie magic, the second of the three Equestria Girls specials. If this is your first time joining us for a Triple E, we normally record these live on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So if you're watching a recording or want to join us in the live chat at some point to give your opinions on future episodes that we'll be discussing here. We normally record these on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I had to push this back to Wednesday this week is due to some technical issues yesterday, but usually that's when we record it. So if you're watching this in recording, if you're watching this live somewhere else, you just have to shoot on over to CinemaQuestria.com and go to the stream page there, and you'll be able to join in the chat there either via our embedded chat or you could also do it through our Discord server, which is also linked on the same page there. So, out of the way, if it's your first time joining us, pretty much all we do here is we just kind of give our initial impressions and opinions on the whatever pony episode had premiered the previous weekend, if we're not in hiatus. So pretty much just everyone can discuss their opinions on it, and we'll have a discussion and debate on maybe some things if there's some disagreements on it, and yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll start more general and work our way into more specific things as the show goes on. With that, in addition to everyone joining us in the chat, a few people here, if you aren't familiar with us already, in the call that we'll be discussing, I'm Rain Shadow.
I'm a flaccid mystery wrapped up in a British enigma. I'm Matt the Shadow Man.
I'm Jake Smith.
And I'm currently eating.
Hello,
It's Mr. Ben. How's it going, everyone?
I don't know if flaccid would be the best word I'd ever use to describe oneself.
Well, a flaccid mystery was probably it's a mystery of not much libido. You know, kind of like Moon Monster Madness.
in a sandwich, yes. That's how you should have said it in a sandwich. Flaccid, just like your penis fan. Well, that's it for Triple E today, folks.
All the memes. Yeah, that's all the memes ticked off. We'll see you for
today on Equine Episode Examination. We will be discussing CQ memes. That's what we'll do for episode 100. We'll just discuss CQ memes. Seems legit.
Matt the Shadow.
And on this episode of CQ Memes, don't be a dick!
Especially a flaccid one. Oh god! Oh my gosh! Let's get into what we're actually discussing here today.
Scooby-Doo.
I know, right? It was a great episode of Scooby-Doo that we watched. Definitely a better one than Moon Monster Madness. So yeah, what is everyone's initial thoughts on not Moon Monster Madness, but our kind of movie madness, the movie magic?
You know me too well for you to add that little prerequisite there, didn't you? God damn it. On a serious note,
serious?
Personally, I think yeah, I know. That's
wow.
Amazing, isn't it?
Do tell.
I say. No, but on a slightly more serious note, personally, I think I preferred Dance Magic a little bit more to this one. But overall, yeah, it was a fine episode. You know, I call it an episode because, I mean, I know that we want to call them specials episodes. They're just episodes. They're 22 minutes long. They're episodes. And, yeah, you know, it was fine. I enjoyed it. Had a pretty good villain for one of these as well, actually, and I definitely think we'll be seeing more of her. So yeah,
it's kind of interesting.
I enjoyed it enough. It was a good send up of Scooby Doo, and it was, it had a pretty good story, and it moved at a decent pace, and it was enjoyable as ever to see the girls together, and yeah, that's basically all I can.
Pretty much, I guess what I say is that I think that I think that this special had a better story, I guess, than Dance Magic did. Dance Magic was, I think, a little more simple in terms of the writing and what happened in that particular episode. I think this one, it had the whole mystery aspect of it and a lot of different things going on. So I think story-wise, this story was maybe slightly more complex and a little bit more compelling. I think Dance Magic for me might have been a little bit more rememberable and enjoyable just because of what happened and the characters and the music sequence and etc. So it's kind of like a trade-off. It's like I think this one had a better story. I think Dance Magic might have been a little bit more memorable and enjoyable for me, though. Not that this one was bad. It's just comparing the two. But see, that's the thing. I don't think Dance Magic wasn't written around the song, being that we now know that that episode was produced back then. I think it was just like a normal episode. The song was written as part of the story. So originally, I thought it was an episode written written around the whole song. But now that we know that it was produced back then, when the song was produced, the song was written by Gianbarro for that episode.
Well, so the thing with this episode, I feel like it does tie in very loosely to the previous sort of episode, obviously, and to the last film, Legend of Everfree, with obviously Camp Everfree being brought up sort of at the very sort of near the beginning, with the director basically saying that he was a person that visited there when he was in high school, and so it's tenuous, but the link is still there, which is, it's quite nice that there's some kind of, there's a theme with the things. With the only thing I will say about this, it was called Mirror Magic, but there was not a, I suppose there was, actually, thinking back. No, never mind. I was going off onto a train of thought that I thought I had, but then I've just thought myself back about the episode, which I only just rewatched, and yeah. I'd be talking out of my ass if I said, "Oh, there isn't much magic in it." Yeah, there was. Rainbow Dash used like quite a bit of her magic, and Twilight used hers once. So,
yeah, I guess there was enough to qualify as.
But there was more magic in this than there was in Dance Magic, really.
More magic than Scooby-Doo Moon Monster Madness.
Moon Monster Magic produced meme magic.
Moon Monster Magic.
No, it's meme monster magic.
Oh gosh, yeah. Going to the writing, since Techtron mentioned it, this was written by Noelle Benvenuti, who we haven't seen writing for the show quite a while. She's only written 2 episodes, only back in season 5. She of course wrote the original Maud Pie episode, introducing us to that character, as well as Made in Manhattan in that episode and that season as well. So she came back to write this, which is cool because we haven't seen her for quite a few years here now, not writing anything in the show.
I do have to admit, this was probably the biggest thing of continuity that I loved. I'm just looking through the chat room, but here it is. The big thing about continuity that I loved about this particular episode wasn't so much of the fact that, like, hey, it followed, Camp Everfree or anything, but the fact, or anything like that. But the fact it's more like, hey, we have magical gemstones. Why don't we fucking use them for once?
Yeah, I really just like I really did like how these specials seem to have a lot of continuity involved, rather than just maybe some character development continuity. Like the past kind of few stories and stuff, there hasn't been a ton of I guess, continuity between them. I mean, in terms of story, it's just a lot of the stuff is just character building continuity. But here we have like everything here has been, these past two specials has been building directly off of pretty much what happened in Legends of Everfree with Dance Magics, with them, raising money to rebuild some stuff to it and heavily referenced there. And then here, of course, the whole reason they're even at this situation now is because of what they did to save the camp as well. So I'm liking that kind of continuity that they have involved here, and I'm interested to see where this all kind of goes in the final special then. If any actions that happened in this episode or this special will affect anything in there, how Camp Everfree might come into play in that episode as well. It was also interesting to see Daring Do here in the Equestria Girls universe. It wasn't exactly how I assumed it would be, but it actually makes more sense than.
Well, we didn't actually see AK Yearling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But seeing the character mentioned, and that's kind of what I was saying. Because like going into this, I actually thought it was going to be Daring Do, or actually be AK Yearling or Daring Do or something in this. And of course, it turned out it wasn't that. It was just an actress. Playing
as if we couldn't get any closer to Daring Do being Indiana Jones / Lara Croft.
So I think that was a nice thing to do, because I was expecting it to just be Daring Do going in, but I think it definitely makes more sense in this universe for if they're making the movie based on the book. It wouldn't it wouldn't be that.
We didn't see the Equestria Girls version of Aoi Zotal though, so I'm disappointed.
We did. Didn't we see Aoi Zotal like a shadow on the wall? We saw Aoi Zotal like a shadow.
We saw a silhouette.
Point. Yeah.
Yes, but I think that was more of a practical effect.
Yeah, of course it was fun watching Rainbow Dash and Twilight and Juniper as well, sort of fangirl over the whole Daring Do thing as well. It's always fun to see that.
Nerds. Also, it's good to know that the Equestria Girls version of Rainbow Dash is as much a Daring Do nerd as the pony version.
It makes you wonder how she was introduced to Daring Do in this world, though, because that was kind of done via Twilight in the Equestria world, and Twilight, at least technically, doesn't exist here.
It could have still been the Twilight here.
But she hasn't been around that long.
No, but then again, Rainbow Dash hadn't known Twilight a huge amount of time before she, because Read It and Weep season 2. So she hadn't really known Twilight that long, really, when she was introduced to Daring Do. So it's possible.
But it seems like she's been a fan for longer here.
I suppose really the real answer is, does it really matter?
Yes.
Not really. The answer for me
interesting question
is that it doesn't really matter, and I mean, a lot of people are going to say, well, if there've been so many similarities like this, why even have Equestria Girls at all? And the answer to that question is that they can actually do things here that they can't do in Equestria, and I think it is slightly different here. So
it's still an interesting question.
Let me put it like this: I feel it's different enough for it to be worthwhile. Although I do like the fact that the director... I can't remember... What's the name of the director guy? I can't think of his name. Juniper's uncle.
Cantorzoom?
Yeah, Cantorzoom, yeah.
Yeah, him. I'll just call him the director guy. But he... it was interesting him mentioning about AK Yearling being very hard to get hold of. I was like, gee, I wonder why that is.
Yeah, that was kind of a funny line. She, for someone who's always held up in her her house writing novels, she's surprisingly hard to get a hold of, which is a pretty kind of tongue-in-cheek kind of joke there. Yeah, it was funny having Cantor Zoom there. Is obviously kind of a reference to Steven Spielberg. There, we got, again laying on the Indiana Jones references again in this special.
Still think the most random reference we got in this special was Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Although this is Pinky we're talking about.
Well, again, it's kind of funny because DHS actually is producing the animated series based on that movie for Cartoon Network right now. So
basically, her hair is not hair; it's just basically a massive piece of hammer space. Basically, if she ever needs to pack on her holiday, she can just shove it all in her hair.
I'm sure she does.
I still think Juniper should have turned around and said, "I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids and your dumb dog too."
It would have. The sad thing is, it actually would have made sense because there's fucking Spike.
Hey, it was planned all along. They knew when the very first Equestria Girls was made that they were going to make a 22-minute special after the fourth movie that needed Spike as a dog so they could make a Scooby-Doo reference.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
It was all in their plans.
It's kind of an interesting point there too about, we have the power ponies that actually make an appearance kind of weirdly in this episode out of nowhere. I guess since they're on a movie studio, they can do stuff like this. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that this was something we brought up during the episode, was interesting that they're actually referred to as the power ponies in this universe, which is I guess a little weird. It makes you kind of wonder what their sort of superhero backstory is in this universe to call them
They were
the
bitten,
power
they
ponies.
They were bitten by radioactive ponies.
something like that,
Or my theory that I posted a couple of days ago, and I think it was in chat here on CinemaQuestria, was that that these there's actually this world of Equestria Girls. They're never actually mentioned that they're actually called humans, so it's very possible that they could actually just be ponies, but in a humanoid shape. I mean, they could still refer them to themselves as ponies, just that then they look more human-like.
Possible. It's definitely possible.
And I have to agree with Mr. Ben. We need, but you know what we need? We need a Power Ponies Megazord style thing.
I'm still kind of over the fact, just we never got that in the episode proper. I'm not really complaining. I'm just, I agree. I think we should probably see something like that. That would be awesome. As well as quite firmly on this side of the ridiculous scale.
I mean, I guess to be fair, what else would they have called them? The Power Humans? That's a great name.
They could have called them the Power Girls, I suppose.
Again, that might be a little too close to Powerpuff Girls.
Hey,
fitting.
They could have made references then.
Oh gosh. But it was kind of cool seeing those costumes adapted to the human form of them.
So they didn't have any of the powers though.
I'm still waiting for more like superhero stuff, because that was one of the cool things I really liked about in Legend of Everfree is kind of when at the end of the movie when they finally all kind of got their elements, their gems, their gemstone things, and they started using their powers. They had like these superhero costumes, and the music was like very superhero. It was like very much like a superhero thing, which I think was an interesting kind of take on the whole pony and elements of harmony thing that kind of fit more for our world versus the magical world of Equestria. There in Equestria it's all magic and stuff like that, but here it would definitely seem more like they're superheroes, or they have superpowers. And I really liked how they went with that take on it at the end of Legends of Everfree, because it just seemed right for the world. So I really hope that they do more stuff with their actual abilities in this world, as well as sort of superheroes. And we kind of see Rainbow Dash and Twilight use their abilities a little bit here, but I'm really hoping for them to like almost be kind of superheroes in an episode or something like that.
All I'm going to say is that the Equestria Girls will never ever run out of money, because they can just get Twilight to just open up Fort Knox, just like that.
Yeah, that's how all superheroes get all their funds. Gotta pay the bills somehow.
No, they just sell Rule 34 of them. They make millions.
Oh,
Hey, if you've got it, flaunt it.
God. An interesting kind of talk on the geodes as well. It's kind of interesting to see that none of them really think it's that important, I guess, to wear them. They hasn't really clicked with them yet, and so really we only get Twilight and Rainbow Dash wearing them in this episode, but they seem to have realized that they might kind of be important going forward. After this episode, I can understand them not wearing. I can understand them not wearing them in the first special, since we know that was kind of written beforehand, and that would have been really hard to kind of stick in. So they kind of had two of them wear them here. So now that they have all kind of realized this, it's going to be interesting to see if they all start wearing those going forward, especially into the next the final special.
Yeah. The thing is, I like to think the reason behind the reason why Twilight and Rainbow Dash had theirs was Twilight did it for practicality reasons, and Rainbow Dash did it because it's cool.
Yeah.
Or awesome, if you want to be a bit more 90s about it.
She probably just uses her super speed for mundane things every day now.
But basically, it means she can play more video games and she can rush to the toilet a lot more quickly. Hey, it's canon. We see AJ and Rainbow playing video games in a previous movie, so.
Yeah, exactly what Tim said there. So it's kind of interesting going forward if we see those more in the upcoming special, and whatever this universe brings us in the in the future.
Whether because like some superheroes obviously want to try and like hide identities. It might well be a case that they might end up having to wear like superhero kind of costumes, maybe. Maybe like the Power Ponies.
But see, that's the thing. We already saw them in costumes at the end of Legend of Everfree. They get those pretty fucking awesome costumes at the end of that movie when they finally unlock the power of their gemstones. So I would love to see those ones again, because I think those were pretty good as they were.
So it'll certainly help Rainbow Dash if she needs to speed back home so she can go and play some more Bubsy. What could possibly go wrong?
That's Twilight.
But not this Twilight, though.
They're connected in some way.
What, connected by Bubsy meme magic? Or Timmy Turner meme magic?
I'm disappointed there isn't a fourth special called Meme Magic.
What? And it has like a no. We could make our own episode, and we can have in the background a penis fan and a sandwich. And some dicks, and with like a red circle with it with a cross through it.
I did think the actual mystery kind of aspect of this episode was pretty nice. It was kind of like I think most of us probably kind of knew it was Juniper going into it, but they kind of, they tried to make it seem like it would have been Chestnut at parts of it from it. So I mean, I think it was written kind of well. I think I think most of us kind of expected it to be Juniper just because of the amount of time she was getting, I guess, in terms of screen time. It just makes me think that they're building her up to be something important. So it would make sense that it would be her in the end.
I do have to admit, I do kind of like the sort of bait and switch thing with the other actress. What was her name?
Chestnut.
That Magnifico. Yeah. That they play her up as like a sort of a prima donna who's angry at her agent for sticking her in the role of Daring Do. But then it turns out that she's completely on board with the whole thing, and that she was actually talking about a completely different project that was cutting into the time that she could spend filming the Daring Do film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to bloody end up having to talk about nests all the time? I mean, the only person that I can think of in the entire world that could perhaps carry a whole documentary just talking about various nests around the world is Fluttershy.
That would be extremely boring.
I'd watch it.
And now here's another nest. We got birds in this one.
No, she could explain what types of birds they are, how they actually create the nest.
I guess it would be something good to play if I'm trying to get to sleep.
Now that would just be me watching Applejack reading out nursery rhymes.
No, but she would actually put emphasis behind her words. It would be exciting.
Anyway, yeah, this episode it was a better mystery than Dance Magic. You thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? Maybe because Dance Magic didn't have a mystery, but then again, nor did Moon Monster Magic. Zing!
Madness.
Can I just say that even though she was the villain, I thought Juniper was actually kind of cute.
Yeah, I liked her character and stuff.
She's the new Starlight Glimmer, so as soon as she gets reformed, everyone's going to hate her.
Is there anything else about the story or the writing that anyone else wants to discuss?
Yes, the talking about those peanut bars was just making me hungry throughout the whole thing.
Let's see. So we can go on to the character and characterization of the episode. So, what did everyone think about the characters and characterization and the special?
Well, as far as the main cast, everyone was pretty much pretty standard. Twilight and Rainbow Dash being their sort of fangirling pretty much throughout the whole thing about being on the set of Daring Do.
I think Rainbow Dash
Pink-
probably took the cake for that, though. She was
Yeah.
extra fangirling.
Speaking of cakes, Pinky just being so concerned about finding that cupcake fountain of all things, and then actually managing to find it at some point. Oh,
It was
It's
interesting
kind of-
that Spike was the one that was paired up with her as well. That was unusual and actually a nice touch.
I think one of the
Yeah,
things
it's
I
nice.
liked about the one of the things I really liked about it was we got a few scenes in it with just a couple of the human, 7 of them together. So they got paired off at a point in the episode, and it was just a very brief moment, but it was something that was really, I guess, kind of nice to see, and hope to see more, in the future, because really it's something we see more of course, in the main show, but in Equestria Girls usually it's all of them together, or just Twilight, or just Sunset. So it was kind of nice to have them split up and sort of playing off each other in that aspect. We got one with Applejack and Sunset, the aforementioned Pinky and Spike, and it was kind of, I think we had Fluttershy and Rarity, I think, and it was just kind of nice to see those kind of individual pairings, almost like we have like when we discussed the map episodes. It was a really brief part of the episode, but it was nice. I hope they do more stuff like that in the future, with a little more focus.
I think the character that probably had the least really here was probably Rarity, although she did have a couple of nice lines, obviously mentioning about, an actress would never do such a thing. and sort of, the rolling of eyes from others that have us saying that sort of thing. An actress being over dramatic, never.
But and of course, to be fair, Rarity had a lot of focus in the previous special as well.
Yeah.
And that's one thing
Yeah.
I liked about this one was, this one, last one kind of focused, had a little more focus on Rarity. This one had a little more focus, not quite as much as Rarity had in the last one, but it did have a little more focus on Rainbow Dash in this one, which is, again, something I've really wanted to see
Rainbow Dash
more
and
of
Twilight
in the, a little bit, I guess, because they were together, but I think most of the focus was on Rainbow Dash for this one. And it's something, again, that I mentioned this before, that I wanted to see more in this universe, in the Equestria Girls universe, because all the previous movies have pretty much exclusively focused on Twilight and Sunset, with the rest of the girls just being there as a sort of supporting cast. Whereas last episode we kind of had a lot more focus on Rarity, this one a lot more focus on Rainbow Dash, and it was nice to see that in this universe, and hopefully in the future we'll kind of continue that focus on other characters other than just those kind of main 2 ones.
Honestly, it was actually kind of nice to see a little bit more of when we actually saw like some interaction, some dialogue with Spike here. Because to be fair, Spike hasn't really had a huge amount really to do since basically I'd say the 3rd movie, but really not. I wouldn't even say since the 2nd movie, really. So that was nice to have a bit more Spike here as well, which was nice.
Well, no, Spike had a lot. Spike had a lot in the 3rd movie because he was a big part of all of Sidewise scenes in that movie, and in Legend of Everfree as well, kind of there as the support for.
But I think it was
Sidewise.
more toned down than the first 2 films. Like, it wasn't as much, but that's not a problem because
I don't really think it's much less than the first one. I mean, the first one, Twilight, Spike was pretty much doing the same thing for the Equestria Twilight, just there as kind of support and providing sort of comical banter to some of her actions.
It's probably where it's just the fact that I probably find the first Equestria Girls probably has had some of the earliest and some of of really good characterization for Spike, so it's probably a little bit of bias on my end probably. I really think that was the turning point for Spike, really, pushing on and I think that was the catalyst for him appearing in much better episodes on the show.
Mm.
Ones aimed, ones that were specifically, him as.
Now, if you want who the cast is, Twilight is Velma, Rainbow Dash is, I believe we decided it's Scrappy Doo, Rarity obviously Daphne, Applejack is Fred, Spike is of course Scooby, there. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, Applejack is, of course, going to be Fred. They both love their ascots. I think the rest of them just kind of fall into place. And yeah, Fluttershy, we said Fluttershy was Shaggy, of course. It makes sense. No, he's definitely Fluttershy is definitely Shaggy.
Yeah, she's the only one that actually gets to find her own shadow, so, you know, it's the only one that's really suitable. The only thing is, to be fair, you'd probably have to... best fit would possibly be Tree Hugger instead. Depends on how much you want to
they hang out enough though.
With Shaggy.
They hang out enough though. So.
Yeah. I now have the idea that the reason why Fluttershy is a lot more at ease with like danger is because she's actually just on a hell of a lot of weed.
It was funny seeing and kind of cool seeing, I guess, Sunset as the maniac, dressed as the maniac when they get to the Power Ponies scene in this episode. It was just kind of funny. It's funny to see her pulling that look off. No offense though, Sunset, given your past. No offense that you're dressed as the villain. So I guess what everyone think of the new character in this Juniper Montage, then?
I actually really liked her.
Yeah, we can kind of see like her motive.
Really found her as a villain. I found her motivation actually, you know, fairly. I mean, you could say it's semi-childish, but don't forget she's only a high schooler, so it's not really.
It kind of fits.
It's understandable. Yeah.
It seems like a plausible,
like Tim mentioned earlier. It's nice to have a high school villain act, you know, kind of like a high school villain, not like be ridiculously over the top or painfully underplayed.
Yeah, it's kind of our first villain or antagonist or whatever you want to call it from in that we've seen in the Equestria Girls movies that isn't from like Equestria in some way, right? So. All the other ones have... Well, I mean, I guess technically... Well, yeah, because, I mean, like, all the other villains have stemmed from some sort of equestrian magic. Obviously, Sunset is from Equestria. The Sirens are from Equestria. What happens to Sai-Twy in the Friendship Games is because of her absorbing equestrian magic. Everything that happens in Legend of Everfree is because of equestrian magic leaking through. So yeah, I guess it kind of makes it a little interesting, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, and maybe a little disappointing that nothing in these two specials has really done anything with equestrian magic. It's in one way it's like good because, like, again, it's nice having a villain that isn't based on that. It is actually just kind of a high school kind of antagonist, literally. But it also is kind of weird because at the end of no, I'm getting my movies confused, right? What am I thinking of? No, never mind. I'm getting my movies out of order. So, yeah, I forget the point I was going to make. But it is nice to see to see that kind of villain here, where, as far as we know, she's not really influenced right now by any sort of equestrian magic.
I think if there's one thing I will feel with like these episodes, they so far they feel very much like pilots to a TV show. I know that maybe that's just me, but they really do feel like that. And, you know, perhaps the slightly more segregation in that regard to the show is kind of a good thing, because then it can go off in its own direction without having to necessarily, you know, worry about. I mean, we see a lot of reference to obviously the show here, Friendship is Magic here, in terms of like having parallels, like the power ponies and stuff like that. But as time goes on, there's a distinct possibility that we can see a lot more of its own, Equestria Girls doing its own thing, or even say new things being introduced in Equestria Girls that we then see like a pony-fied version of perhaps at some point in the show. That would be kind of cool, seeing sort of each other bounce off each other.
But Matt, we've already seen that with Flash Sentry. Everyone's favorite.
True. Hey, I'm looking forward to Juniper being reformed and everyone hating her more than Starlight Glimmer.
Hey, maybe Starlight Glimmer can actually like have some good episodes then, where not everyone's complaining.
I do have to admit,
like the show already has.
I mean, where people aren't complaining during them, though.
As I was saying, I do have to admit, I kind of like the idea that this little mini-series that we've been getting is kind of more along the lines of a slice of life thing, rather than any sort of large adventures we've been getting that the past 4 episodes have been getting. Pretty much the closest thing to a slice of life thing that we got was pretty much Legend of Everfree, where everyone kind of got in regards to, hey, we're going to go camping, we're going to get away from the school, we're going to get away from all this magical nonsense, and then all of a sudden, boom, magical nonsense. So, but the previous episode with Dance Magic has kind of gotten that sort of, hey, yeah, we're not having to actually fight any magical demons or anything, we're not having to worry about, casting any, equestrian magic or anything, we're just going through regular life, just getting involved in a sort of a dance competition here. And now it's kind of like with movie magic, it's kind of like the same thing. We've got invited into watching a film being filmed on site, and yeah, sure, there's a little bit of shenanigans going on with someone trying to effectively sabotage the process, but it's relatively mundane. Just they're resorting to stealing stuff. They're resorting to
sabotaging the set.
Basically just sabotaging the set, stealing props and hiding them, as opposed to just gathering a bunch of magic and suddenly going all one-winged angel on everything. So
what I want to see in the future is I want to see all of the Humane 7 get together, travel around Equestria in a van, and look for magical nonsense and solve it.
Oh, magical mysteries.
Yeah. Perfect new series.
But just go into a little bit about Mr. Ben was saying about the episode themes. There was still quite a lot of themes of friendship, just like friendship is magic in like pretty much all the previous stuff with the Equestria Girls, including the previous special Dance Magic. Here there was no real friendship problem here in this special, which I found very, very keenly interesting, because it basically the crux of the matter basically led down to the mystery that was wrapped around everything, and obviously them looking around, and obviously us sort of seeing things like got Derpy on the brain, Daring Do, and that. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it didn't work, but I think that might be why perhaps I felt that this felt perhaps a little lesser than previous special. I wouldn't say it was like worse in any way, but it just seemed kind of different and kind of, I don't know. I liked it enough, and I think the thing that carried it quite a bit was the characterization and the use of the villain that they had here, and the fact that it definitely feels like we're going to be seeing Juniper again at some point.
Yeah, that's kind of, this episode seems to be more setting up for future endeavors with her character at some point down the road as well, where more friendship issues might come into play or something like that, as where this was just kind of her origin story of her being
when she was being let off, we clearly got that this isn't overlooked from her when she was glaring over her shoulder. So
and hey, it's I actually kind of like that. I mean, and maybe that's something that just because of the shorter episodes, but they're still trying to do something maybe a little more broad over multiple episodes. It was kind of cool to see that at the end of the episode, the villain kind of unmasked like in Scooby-Doo, but they weren't they didn't. There was no, like we said, there wasn't a friendship lesson or anything. They just kind of scowled and got away, knowing that we'll see them again. I guess it was something a little different than the closest thing we've really felt like that in this series would have been with Starlight Glimmer's introduction back in the season 5 premiere, where she kind of a similar thing happened at the end of that, where she was revealed to be a phony and then ran away, and we know we're going to see her again somewhere down the line. So it's kind of interesting, seeing those similarities there with that and her Juniper sort of quote unquote getting away here.
I'll get you next time, Sunset. Next time.
I'll get you, my pretties, and your little dog too.
I was trying to reference Inspector Gadget, but that works too.
I know.
Of course,
I just couldn't.
Of course, the show has already dropped that reference in the first Equestria Girls movie with Sunset saying that.
Can we all agree that Sunset was kind of a terrible villain, though? She was functional.
I don't know if I'd call her a terrible villain. She was kind of they kind of played her off as your kind of archetype school big bully, sort of, big meanie, like gonna meet you in the dark alley of the hallway and insult you and stuff, and then she kind of absorbed all of that energy, magical energy, and went over, got kind of overcome by it and went overboard and turned into like her true self of how like the true bitch inside that she she was back then kind of manifests itself when the equestrian magic infiltrates her at the end of that movie there. It was, that episode was really about, that movie was pretty much all about Sunset's quest for power, and some of the prequel, which I still think they should have included in the movie, but some of the prequel things like comics and whatnot, where they delve deeper into like how she was when she was actually with Celestia and training under her, and she was very much wanting to learn the most powerful magic right away. It wasn't like Twilight, where she was just interested in just absorbing knowledge and just wants to learn as much as she can. Sunset was very keen on learning just the power. I want to learn the powerful magic. I want to learn the powerful magic. That's kind of, and when Celestia denied her that's when she sort of ran away. So that kind of plays into how she's acting there, in terms of now she's in a high school setting. She wants that power, but there's obviously no magic, so she's doing it through bullying people into getting elected, class or whatever that role was, the prom queen or whatever, so she can feel like she has that power over other people, and that kind of manifests there in the end of the movie there when she actually gets that equestrian magic. But yeah, no magic here.
It's interesting though that sort of since her reformation, I know there's no like de facto leader here, not quite as keenly felt as in the show. The show where it's clearly it's Twilight is sort of the main sort of figurehead. Here, I would say that Sunset is, but it's sort of a de facto kind of thing, whereas it's not necessarily. It's not
element,
quite,
kind of
it's
induced.
Well,
yeah.
she's not been made a princess yet. If she becomes princess,
she did
Sunset,
get wings.
Say, yeah.
She did get wings that one part at the end of Friendship Games, though.
Well, and she also got them in the My Past Is Not Today.
Yeah, she got the metaphorical wings there. But yeah, I really do think she's pretty much, especially now that Human Twilight is completely pretty much out of Equestria Girls now, and we have Science Twilight's brought in. She's obviously kind of an outsider newcomer, so I think Sunset definitely has that role, and we feel that really strongly throughout Friendship Games and Legend of Everfree, that she's sort of stepped into that almost sort of leadership role, central role, at least in terms of the writing and the story of the movies, and you don't feel that so much in these past 2 episodes since they focused on different characters, but definitely in the past 2 movies, she definitely feels like that, which is kind of cool, being that she was sort of the main villain in the first one, and it's almost like it's almost like season 8 starts up and Starlight Glimmer has just completely replaced Twilight as the the lead of the main six. Oh, people would be so happy. Norm would be the best Equestria Girls villain. That's going to be the third Equestria Girls special is going to be guest starring Norm. That's who.
Rob Snyder. It has Rob Schneider in it.
I was gonna say that's who they need to get as the guest voice actor for season 8 is Rob Schneider. Come on, everyone, tweet it, make it happen. Let's get Rob Schneider on MLP.
Rob Schneider, Tay Sunday, and I'm trying to think who else we get. Pee Wee Herman. There you go.
Oh no! We need to get Jeff Goldblum. Let's get Jeff Goldblum. Everything's better with Jeff Goldblum.
You get Pee Wee Herman, and you tie up his pony with Tree Hugger, and he does a PSA where he goes, "This is crack."
No, we still need to get Mr. Shit himself, Patrick Stewart. But yeah, back on the subject of the special. But yeah, I like we don't see her that much, but I liked Juniper in this. I liked her kind of her personality, and she definitely has that similar fangirl personality as Rainbow and stuff does. But her motivations were at least a little bit believable in terms of her her age and sort of what happened in the story itself. And I'm definitely interesting to see where it goes from here. She's obviously still harboring a grudge on the girls there, and so it'd be interesting to see when she comes back and kind of what happens. But but yeah, I could
definitely see Juniper end up being quote unquote reformed because she's just a kid. Basically, it's just a selfish kid,
okay, let's be truthful here.
Biggest turnaround.
Let's be truthful here. This isn't a big baddie like the Sirens or anything like that Equestrian Magic. This is a girl from this world. What's going to happen? Are they going to kill her? Are they going to jail her in something? I don't think they're going to do that. So yeah, I would say safe bet.
I suppose it depends what she tries to do to get quote unquote revenge. I mean, the most interesting thing that could happen is Juniper meets up with the Sirens, and then she would be introduced to equestrian magic. Now that would be very interesting.
Yeah, but again, we're talking about kind of the whole Reformation thing. I don't see it going any other way unless they kind of keep her as a reoccurring villain. She just kind of gets away at whenever her next appearance is. If she just kind of gets away at the end, then yeah. But I mean, other than that, unless she just gets away and runs away or something like that, what else are they going to do to her? I mean, seriously, an actual human kind of girl in this, it's different than like the Sirens when we can just destroy them or something, or even they just got away at the end of that. They just lost their powers.
I wonder what the Sirens are doing now.
That's what I want to see.
Probably busking on the corner street.
We really need to have a return to the Sirens.
I want a whole episode that is just the Sirens and what they've been doing since they lost their powers, trying to fit in this world. That would be so great. See, this is why we need a full Equestria Girls TV series, because then they can explore things like this.
They become like the bulk and skull of the series.
Only with the third wheel.
Yeah, Sonata.
She's always asleep, though.
Or eating tacos.
Oh, man, I could go for some tacos. It's not Tuesday, though. Dang it. Forgot, it's Wednesday today.
But you can only, is that like a law or something? You could only eat tacos on a Tuesday.
Yes, it's the unspoken rule, Matt.
I'm gonna have to when I go back to work. Every time it gets Tuesday, I'm gonna have to take all the tacos off the shelves, the taco kits and that. And if anyone asks me, I'll say, yeah, well, it's no longer Tuesday.
So we only sell tacos on Tuesday. But yeah, I still hope we see them again in the future. It'd be kind of, again, we kind of discussed this already, but just be interesting going forwards if, where they'll take the whole Equestria Girls thing. Will they go back to having a movie, or will they continue to have, maybe 3 specials a year instead of a movie, which would be kind of cool too.
We should probably have the discussion after the 3rd special next week.
Oh yeah, we definitely will.
Like where the direction might be.
Yeah, well, yeah, I have a feeling we probably definitely will be able to do that. But just it'd be it's still kind of interesting to think just what their plans are, or if they'll do a full TV show, which I don't think they will. But it'd be kind of cool.
I hope, I'd like them to, but also I can see how that would be an issue. And if they did do that, they would probably have to gear up basically a whole new set of staff to do it. And I don't know whether Hasbro would really want to spend that sort of money on Equestria Girls, because as a toy line, I think it does okay, but it's like nowhere near the sort of money that like other properties.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I don't think staff would be an issue since they have their own crew working on it. But yeah, again, the difference would be paying for them to produce 70 minutes of content a year, 70 minutes of content a year, paying for that, or paying to produce 200 minutes of content a year, like they do with Pony, which is a lot.
Well, it didn't help that the original toys, the original dolls, I thought were absolutely freaking hideous.
Oh God, they're
subjective opinion. I know there might be.
No, that is a fact.
Like
that is a fact.
Yes.
Those things.
Yes,
But the minis were like the first kind of Equestria Girls merchandise that I would sort of look to myself and think, I may not necessarily actively buy it, but I'm not repulsed by it either.
Well, the weird thing is, I mean, Hasbro made like some of the other lines, like the Descendant ones. Now, of course, they're making all of the Disney Princess ones. They've made other girl, shaped dolls that look okay or look good. So I never understood why they didn't just redo the mold for those, which are so obviously horrible. Yeah, and I don't understand why they just didn't redo those molds so they didn't look so hideous. I mean, it was just like, oh my God, I don't know what they were thinking.
The minis look closer to the show, and big, well, not to the show, but, to the movies and the specials, and big surprise, they look a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, oh yeah, the minis are great too. I just never understood why those original ones look so bad, and they refused to change them. Yeah, that didn't. I think the minis are hopefully selling, selling a little bit better.
Are they still making the dolls now? Or?
Oh yeah, because they still have they just released those. I believe they still haven't released all of them yet. The new the new sets that they featured at Toy Fair that were based on the specials, because they had a Juniper montage one, and remember the Sunset food truck, which you still haven't seen yet. I don't even know if that's actually going to be in a special or not, but I remember the fucking Sunset sushi food truck was. I want to get that. That was fantastic.
We need a crossover with that and Squid Girl.
God. Well, let's move on to the voice acting of the special. We actually had quite a few new voice actors to this series in this episode. We had all the of course the main voice cast returns, but they all just voiced their normal characters. So we have Andy Toth, who voiced Cantor Zoom, as well as the PA that thinks he's going to be fired after getting the wrong power ponies. Ali Labert, who did Juniper Montage. Kira Tozer, who did Chestnut Magnifico, excuse me, and Charles Zuckerman, who did the Starboard Stallion.
I'm going to be honest, I know none of these new VAs. I've never heard of any of them before. All I'll say is they all seem to did a pretty good job. Particularly, like I say, as Technotron in chat mentions, Juniper's VA did a really good job.
Yeah, I really like Juniper's voice. it was different than voices we've heard before, and it was, not grating or anything like that. It was
Actually, Ali LeBear, that actually does vaguely ring a bell. I think she might have done some anime dubs before, maybe. It's sort of in the back of my mind. I may be confusing that with someone else, so it just has a similar sounding name. Like
She did do a couple of roles in Barbie, Ali Liebert. She did Tara and Hannah and Barbie in the Pink Shoes and the Youngling Fairly and Barbie in the Secret
that's
Door.
definitely what Matt's thinking of, because we all know Matt is a huge Barbie nerd.
As well as Portia and Hannah in Barbie Princess Charm School.
Hey, the only thing I know is that Kelly Sheridan voiced Barbie for a long time.
and then she and now Starlight Glimmer, the one who wants everyone to be equal and evil villain. It's perfect.
Yeah,
she's reformed now, so.
Say there's a bunch of other stuff that she's done. She's it's just that none of them are really all that stuff that I'm really familiar with, to be perfectly honest. At least in terms of movies, she's done other stuff in terms of television. She's been part of the 4400. She's been of Kyle XY. She was part of. I'm just looking at her Wikipedia page, like right here. So
it's interesting that Tara got the lead voice performance credit instead of Ashley Ball. Because I would have said, like Rain said, I would say that tenuously, I think Rainbow Dash was the main main character.
I think Tara probably had more lines because she was the one that was giving that long explanation as to kind of solving the mystery.
That's how they always do the billing, is that whomever has the most lines in that particular episode always has the top billing.
So it's interesting to note that Spike actually had more lines than Sunset Shimmer then. That's interesting.
Yeah, he had all those lines about the a couple different things, the candy bars and stuff like that. He had quite a few, actually.
And Ashley and Andrea have a distinct advantage considering that they voice two characters.
Mm-hmm.
Although in that case with Fluttershy that didn't really help, because I think Fluttershy had about 4 lines in the whole thing, maybe 5.
But yeah, that's how they always did the credit billing.
Yeah.
Anyone who had the most lines was billed higher than anybody else. Anyone else who didn't have as many lines got lower and lower on the list.
Well,
so.
that can't be quite the case, because I think I suppose actually that's probably about right, actually, looking at the the thing. But
so
Andy Toth, Kira Tozer, and Charles Zuckerman, I couldn't tell you anything about.
So
them.
Kira Tozer voiced the pink monkey on Littlest Pet Shop. I forget her name, but
I hardly watch
But
that means nothing to me. But at least it means that
Minka Mark?
Minka.
Yep. So she voiced that. So she had obviously some.
Funny enough, Kira Tozer was also in Barbie.
I think most of these are because all these shows have one thing in common. That's Terry Klassen, who did the voice direction on it. And he did a lot of the voice direction for Barbie too, which is why we get so many Barbie voice actors, I think, in these shows.
Which was kind of hilarious when we actually had Barbie and her sisters in a ponytail.
We got to watch that again. That was fun. I enjoyed watching that.
That was actually way better than it had any right.
It did, and I'm not sure if it was just enjoyable because of hearing those same voice actors or what. But it was. I had a fun time watching that.
I think one of the main voice actresses in that was actually Claire Corlett as well. Which
it
was
was.
Quite interesting.
Yeah, it was. She plays one of Barbie's sisters. So it's pretty funny. I'm just looking through this. I think all the voice actors in this were pretty good. I mean, pretty good. Like
even Charles Zuckerman has played Barbie.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Excuse me. What?
I was just looking up on the IMDb page. I didn't see it listed.
I'm messing
What
now.
what Barbie
I'm
was
saying that
this?
he
Was this
voiced Barbie.
was this the Rule 63 version episode of Barbie? I
Yes.
must have missed that one.
Hey, don't give Hollywood ideas.
Well, Charles Zuckerman has voiced has played the senior Nazi officer in a show. So
Yeah, Lionsgate produced the Barbie movies. Do you know what Lionsgate also helped bring out? They also helped bring out Norm of the North. And if we say, well, they're also doing the MLP movie, yeah, they're just distributing that. They're not involved in any way of any of the production, as far as I'm aware. Thank Christ.
I don't know. Were they with Norm of the North either, or were they just distributing that for another studio?
They distributed that, but do you know what's really annoying about that? Norm of the North originally started out as being a straight-to-video project, and Lionsgate thought it was quote-unquote good enough to be put in cinemas.
Can we put that as the movie's tagline on the poster? Norm of the North. It's good enough.
Except it wasn't. It was shite.
But it's good enough.
The problem is that it wasn't bad in like an interesting way. It's bad in a bland kind of just regular way. It's
Yeah.
it's just formulaic and it's just bad. I mean, for a Rob Schneider film, it's kind of what you expected, really.
Yeah. But yeah, on the voice actor, I think of all the new ones, I definitely think Juniper's was my favorite, which is good because since she seems to be a potential returning character, yeah, for it. But I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to, since obviously she's going to be some sort of antagonist villain in her future appearance, with a big grudge against the main six. I'm definitely interested to see kind of where her voice goes from there, because she's obviously going to be a lot more angsty going forward than she was in this episode. So, one thing I really liked about this episode, in terms of going back on the writing, was sort of how they handled Canterzoom sort of finding out about it, where he was kind of like, yeah, you're my niece, so I forgive you, but then he still like goes completely apeshit and just kicks her out and like give her, she not taking her shit. And I thought it was kind of a good sort of realistic way. It wasn't like, okay, they could have, if they didn't want to have her character continue as an antagonist or something, they could have easily just been like, okay, I forgive you, and kind of leave at that, and everyone learns a lesson. But no, he pretty much just like kicked her the fuck out of there.
Well, I like the fact that he said, you're my niece. Of course, I'm going to probably eventually forgive you, but right now, I just want you out of my hair, basically.
Well, and he pretty much said, he was pretty much like, you're my niece, and I forgive you for it. But as like the director of this, like, I don't know if I can't trust you to be around here anymore. Not fuck everything up again. Because she obviously, this is a big Hollywood sort of production that's going on here, and she kind of. I mean, he laid it down pretty much. You put people in danger. You delayed this expensive production and stuff. So you gotta get the hell out of here. But yeah, happy to hopefully hear more of Juniper in the future here. It's kind of nice having the main six sort of or the Humane Seven, I should say, having sort of their own sort of recurring villain now, because it's not something we've really had in these shows. Maybe with the kind of exception for Midnight Sparkle coming back and haunting Twilight, Sci-Twi in her dreams, and Legend of Every. But even that was kind of more of a subconscious thing than an actual villain returning.
That was more psychological. Than anything else.
not just kicking her out, but getting those buff bodyguards to escort her out as well. That fucking death stare she gives them though at the end. Oh man,
the evils. She gives the evils.
This is how villainy is born.
Speaking of the realistic thing, I also really love how they was like, she basically says, I wanted the part of Daring Do, and I thought that maybe if I could get the lead actress to quit, that you would maybe hire me. And her uncle's like, you're a high school kid with no professional experience.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love just how realistic that is. That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
thumbs up on that one, because I will admit, I was a drama student in high school, and even though I've had 3.5 years of acting experience in terms of a high school setting, I know that realistically there would be no way that I would ever get a blockbuster job on the set of a major production with only my experience from school. There would just be no way in hell.
So,
The only way you would get a role like that is if you had connections, but
hey,
even then, Juniper had connections.
I was about to say, yeah,
you know,
Juniper already
being
had
related
connections,
to him, and
she still didn't get the
and he
job.
still said no.
Yeah.
Exactly.
because
couldn't
he's
get a block.
smart.
You couldn't get a Blockbuster role because Blockbuster Video doesn't exist anymore.
Hey, I mean, she could have, you know, if she asked nicely, she probably could have gotten some sort of background part, but she was so set on playing that main character role that, yeah.
Exactly. Well, when the main seven, or humane seven, sort of asked for like roles in the film, they only got like literally like sort of cameo bit part roles.
Well, yeah, of course, they're not going to rewrite the film to add more parts. There is background, background.
But that's not what they asked for, really.
Yeah.
They just asked for a role. They didn't necessarily say a lead role.
Oh, exactly, yeah, exactly. And moving on to humor, I really like that at the end and seeing all of them, and then of course Rainbow fucking ruining the take again by geeking out.
And he said not again, so it's obviously not the first time she ruined the shot either.
I mean, oh my god, it's just Rainbow.
And the way she
was great.
Feeling her face at the end of saying, sorry, I'm not really sorry, but sorry.
Yeah, it obviously wasn't the first take of this either. Cause... Here we go.
You know what they need to do? They need to replace one of those treasures with in the image that DM12 has just posted. They need to either replace or add one of the treasures there to be one of them be the Twy cane.
Someone photoshopped that out and replace her holding Matt's penis fan.
Attached to the Twy cane.
Oh God.
The penis Twy cane. The fan penis. No, that's just too much. Many words.
Too many awkward words to say in the same word.
You might as well just go along and just go with Jim Sterling's dodo cane at that point. I'm sorry, but no.
It's gonna actually upload this. Why is this so slow? Piece of shit.
Is it bad that I see that image of Juniper with that box behind me and I just have an instant hankering for bombing it to see if there's any goodies inside? I've been playing too much Breath of the Wild.
Here's that rainbow face there at the end of the episode.
Oh yes.
Oh, that's
perfect.
Funny.
Why that image that DM12 just put in there? Why am I imagining him doing the He-Man line of
Eye
of the
power? Let's see more humor stuff. Of course, Pinkie Pie is stuffing that huge container of pudding into her hair and falling back out later. Oh my god! And Twilight just sees her do it. Twilight's just like,
For the
what
road.
the fuck? What?
I like Pinkie's reaction. It's like, for the road.
And Twilight's okay.
As if as if it's like a totally normal everyday thing that Pinkie does.
Well, it probably
Shove a
is.
bucket of pudding in her hair.
Another one of the realistic things that's going on that also ties in with the humor is the human 7 just getting put into PowerPoint in his costume in the span of just a few minutes by an impatient stagehand, despite them insisting they're not actors. The director takes one look at them, immediately knows what's going on, and shit cans the stagehand.
Yeah, I'm fired, aren't I? Yep.
Yes. Yes.
It's even more hilarious that if you know anything about like actual movie makeup like that, like like with costuming and all that, it takes far longer than just 3 minutes as well. So that's also funnier on a meta level as well. Speaking of actors and stuff, another one of the humor is like Rarity telling Fluttershy is like, yeah, the actors love interacting with their fans right before Chestnut's trailer door suddenly swings open and smacks Rarity right in the face.
Yeah, so there's something cathartic about seeing Rarity smacked in the face.
That should be made into a GIF, a looping GIF.
And I like how the Chestnut kept was angry so many times because people kept eating her whatever bars that she had, and we see like bars. We see throughout the movie all of the main 6 like picking them up or eating them or taking them at one point in it. It's like, oops.
Pinky just noticing that, and I'm like, yeah, maybe was it not Pinky? It was Spike. He said, maybe now is a good time to like get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah. I liked Fluttershy actually calling Rainbow Dash Dashy as well. When she was trapped in the in the closet or whatever there.
Rainbow Dash is realizing, hey, I can call my friends. Oh, wait, no, it's security actually. Yeah.
I like that because that's something you kind of have to deal more in the show, in Equestria Girls, than you would in the normal show's universe. Like, they have phones and stuff like that here, so it's hard to get characters maybe trapped or something like that, or in a place where they can't contact their friends. Like, if this happened in the land of Equestria, yeah, it would make sense. They're trapped. They have no way really to contact their friends unless they have Spike with them and he can send a letter or something like that. But here, in this world, they can't really do that, and they have to go and make, and fill that kind of plot hole here with Rainbow saying, oh, security took our phones when we came in, which makes sense on a movie set. So because obviously if not, she could just call any of her friends there nowadays. So it's one of those problems they have to kind of deal with in this Equestria Girls universe versus the main shows. It's sort of like how if you watch a lot of shows from like the 90s and before that, like Seinfeld, stuff like that, and there's so many like conflicts and issues that happen in a lot of these sitcoms and shows back then that you wouldn't be able to have now, because chances are those people would have cell phones, but back then without them, it's a different situation. It's kind of funny to go back and watch those older shows and be like, well, if it was today, they could just call someone with their cell phone and be done with there would be no episode.
I wonder if we'll ever see a pony version of Juniper.
I don't know. It'd be cool. I'm just wondering, if when we'll see her again, if she'll appear in the next one, if they're going to do some direct continuity into the next special, or if this is something that we maybe setting up for additional stories next year or something. Because we don't really know exactly. I don't think we know the season 8 is coming next year, but I don't think we've heard anything about Equestria Girls yet.
There's no future planned yet for Equestria Girls. We do not know what the future holds for Equestria Girls.
I mean,
the toyline and the...
If there is something planned, it would already be happening, but we don't know about it publicly yet for it.
I do wonder if there'll be some kind of panel that has...
I think you got cut off, Matt, but I believe you were saying a panel at HasCon?
There's still a possibility we might have something Sorry?
You got cut off there, so I didn't hear what you said.
I was saying that there may still be a panel at HouseCon. They haven't announced anything yet, but there's still a number of to be announced on there, so there's a possibility that they might have something there.
Yeah.
Or it's mentioned at one of the other pony panels that are there.
I mean, well, Equestria Girls is of course nowhere near as popular as the main line. I think it's probably popular enough, especially on like with slightly older like preteen audiences on Netflix versus. And that's why I was actually surprised that these specials were aiming on Discovery Family before Netflix, because they seem to have implied that like Legends of Everfree, they were going to be launching on Netflix first. They're still not on Netflix, which is interesting, but they're definitely going that route with a lot of the Equestria Girls the Equestria Girls stuff, because obviously Legend of Everfree last year was on Netflix first, and it makes sense because that's where a lot of kids and especially preteens and stuff are getting their entertainment nowadays. And Netflix has a lot of these same kind of shows on here that are aimed at the same target demographic as Equestria Girls is.
Hey, they what do you mean? Hasbro first released these specials in a place where absolutely every preteen girl goes to watch her Equestria Girls, a Polish TV channel.
I'm actually thinking that that's one of the reasons why Discovery Family has launched these before Netflix. I think it was kind of like all these other channels started doing it, so they're like, well, we better go ahead and just air them, and they were planning on probably putting them on Netflix sometime in July to begin with, because that would be about midsummer, and that's when they said they were going to be put up, was in the summer. So
I wonder if we ever did get an Equestria Girls TV show, whether it wouldn't actually necessarily be on TV and would be on Netflix.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Put some money towards it, and that would be how they'd be able to at least afford to have it. Or it would be like, it wouldn't have like 20, it would probably have something like 13 or 16 or something.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be interesting to see, because they definitely seem to be going the Netflix route, starting with Legends of Everfree versus TV. So if they did do any sort of new series, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Netflix one. But I guess we'll see eventually what we hold going forward. Any other humor that anyone wants to point out?
So there's only one thing I could think of, and that was where, still in the Power Ponies attires, they spot Juniper sneaking around the set. They begin to chase her, except that the gap between two of the decor is too narrow for two people at the same time, so Pinky and Rainbow just end up smashing into each other and getting stuck.
Damn it, Pinky! You shouldn't be eating all that pudding.
And I think we've already mentioned this one before, but just Rainbow Dash just continuously interrupting the filming with her fangirling and ruining the shot. That's all I've got off the top of my head.
I actually have more to discuss in terms of the animation and visuals than the humor in this one. Again, we have the that title card again, which is something I made a point of. The last one is being that these are more specials, but they're sort of laid out more like the TV show is, with the consistent intro. I really do like the title cards that they at least put for each individual episode. Again, kind of harkens back to a lot of cartoon shows in the 90s and stuff, where they would have a title card. I'm not just talking about a title card that's the same every episode, and just has text changed out. A lot of shows will do that. They'll have the same kind of background and just put text with stuff over it. But I'm talking about like an actual customized, like drawn title card for each episode,
Lab, basically.
Yeah, like most of I think most of shows of that era, especially on the Cartoon Network ones, all had those kind of title cards. Like I mentioned, like the ones that always stick out for me the most were Ed, Edd and Eddy, because they always had these like really weird looking kind of, but all very customized title cards, where like even the titles themselves would be drawn, not just like text. And so this kind of harkens back to that, and I liked seeing that. So it was nice having again a customized one for this one. I also like the transitions that they had through multiple times in the episode for like time passing, where they had like the little I don't know what's I don't even know what the official name of it is. Like the little movie clicker thing that you say action.
Clapperboards?
Clackerboard.
Okay, is that actually what it's called? I thought it had a fancier name than that. Okay.
But they might be like a fancy like technical term, but most people call it clackerboards.
But yeah, that was kind of a neat little transition for a lot of the ones. I also really liked it.
The transitions than the amazing bulk. I'll give it that.
Yeah, we needed more 3D stock images of zooming into a microscope for no reason.
Or an ambulance just for no reason.
The ambulance doors close on the scene and then it drives away. What's the fucking weirdest transition ever? I really like the three-way horizontal split screen during the chase scene through the different movie events when they're all running through it. I really liked that the storyboarding of that. It was a nice little fun like Scooby-Doo-esque chase scene there.
I love how Pinky just tried to power slide across the hood, kind of like all Dukes of Hazzard, and caused the car alarm to go off.
And then she jumped. I will say that because I made a comment, and we discussed this a little bit last week, in terms of I think the only weak point I really have consistently in Equestria Girls is the run animations, and it's something that even up to like Legends of Everfree, they never looked that good. Like the walk cycles and stuff like that have look really good and look even better. Like some of the front walk cycles, like when we saw like Applejack and Rarity walking towards the camera in Legends of Everfree, looked really good. They were really, really good animated walk cycles there. But the run cycles, just because of the long legs when they're running, it looks so weird because they only have that really high bend point. So you have these really long legs kind of swinging. It did look slightly better in this, I will say. It still had a lot of the same problems, but the run animations did look slightly better in the past in that scene I was talking about with the three-way horizontal split screen there. And it was actually helped a lot by just putting some motion blur on the characters as they were moving. It kind of masked sort of the awkward animation and made it look a lot more fluid. Still wasn't fantastic, but it looked a lot better than what we saw in Dance Magic.
It kind of makes me wonder if the Human 7 kind of running looked kind of weird. I can only wonder how Human Celestia and Human Luna would have liked trying to do the same thing, since their models are basically like 2/3 legs as it is anyway.
Mr. Ben, just go to a circus, find someone on stilts, and ask them to run. And that's how it would look.
Well, it doesn't help that I think nearly all the girls were wearing heels throughout the special, which probably doesn't help with. That's not conducive for fluid running anyway. So you could perhaps sort of say, well, they're in heels, so of course they're going to run a bit awkwardly. All we do know is that Pinkie Pie seems to be a lot less fit in this version than the Equestria version, because she was always at the back and she was one of the first ones to get tired out. That, or she was just eating way too much pudding.
Yeah, the pudding was weighing her down.
What's more ironic is the fact is that she's the slowest of all of them, yet she's the one who actually has the costume of a speedster.
And yeah, like DM2.
I was saying about whether Geo Power, I think Rainbow Dash or B, you need to swap up outfits.
Yeah, and like DM2 like that picture of the backgrounds and that running scene as well were pretty cool. I like the atmosphere that each of those had, the different styles of movie sets there.
The last one looked very much like a Fast and the Furious kind of.
Oh yeah,
thing,
that was definitely kind of inspired by that. Now
I now want to see an Equestria Girls Fast and the Furious special.
Now we just need a bona fide Vin Diesel. Make it happen.
We would have Paul Walker, but sadly that can't happen now. We get a bona fide version of The Rock.
Yes.
And I don't mean Tom. Or Boulder.
I mentioned this earlier. It was nice seeing the Equestria Girls, the Power Ponies costumes on them in this universe in that form as well. I think they adapted those pretty well, especially with the hair, with dealing with the hair on each of them was pretty good. Also, that Daring Do outfit that Rainbow Dash finds in that closet was also a reference to Indiana Jones, as if we didn't have enough of those in this.
Well, we had the not Indiana Jones music as well.
Mm-hmm. As usual.
The only thing that they would have probably could have done is, aside from the not Indiana Jones music, is if they'd somehow managed to start running away from a giant paper mache boulder or something.
Well, they didn't.
Again, that probably would have been taking the references too far.
Well, didn't they already do something like that in the actual MOP universe parody of it? I thought they had something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I think they might have done that. Yeah.
And on animation, I gotta post what is my favorite face from this episode was this Juniper's montage squee face here. They're talking about Daring Do. That fucking smile is so great.
It looks like a sort of smug smile you have. It's like, I just let off a really big fart and you didn't notice.
I don't know who does that, Matt. But if you do that, that is weird. And yeah, some of the costumes at the end there.
That picture that's just reminded me of the picture you posted to me about Sunset as Shantae.
Shantae Shimmer.
Yes,
that was
I
so
want
great.
Shantae Shimmer. Yes.
I don't know if I can. Let me find that. I got it.
Hey! No, then she really would have dance magic.
Oh yeah, I can. There's a bunch of other. This episode, there's a lot of Juniper montage meme images, like that I posted in the spoiler chat after this, like the shrug, just like the squee. Oh, here we go. Here's another one. I'm just going through this, so I'm gonna post a bunch of images now. Here's another one of Fangirl Rainbow Dash here, having quite the fangirl moment there.
That looks like a shipping pic.
Let's see. Ah, yeah, here we go. Here's the one I was looking for of Shantae Shimmer there.
Who'd be Risky Boots?
I guess Juniper. I don't know.
I was thinking perhaps more Pie.
Yeah, that would totally work.
We could have Lyra as Rotty Tops. Because she's green, get it?
God. Let's see. Anything else for humor or the visuals anyone want to mention before we move on?
Yes, this cartoon had the most realistic pudding and pudding physics out of all puddings.
Okay.
They need to make a pudding magic special now.
So yeah, no songs. I don't think Ingram actually did any new work for any of these. So being that the movie would be going on right in the middle of the production of these, so no new songs. But we did have some score. Just like last week, unfortunately, they haven't actually released these digitally yet. I'm assuming that won't happen until the DVDs are released later in August.
Can I just say I'm pissed off that they're not releasing these in higher quality. That they're not releasing them on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, they should be on like iTunes and stuff when they come out, so we can at least get them in H. I know, but I mean, when they actually are released, so at least we'll be able to get them in high definition. But yeah, I was a little PO'd that Shout Factory for whatever reason, because that's the one thing of like pony content that has always been on Blu-ray has been the Equestria Girls movies, and for whatever reason they are only doing DVD for these specials, which kind of pissed me off because it was awesome getting like the lossless audio and that just the Blu-ray quality high definition video from them. So it's a little bit disappointing, but at least we'll still be able to see it in HD. And who buys DVDs anymore? I mean, most people have an HD TV now. I mean, it's just completely worthless to buy DVDs.
Actually, I think you'd be surprised how many people still buy DVDs, especially against Blu-rays. I still think DVDs still outsell Blu-rays. I know for a fact that, because I work in a shop that's predominantly shopped by old people. We do, like, for new releases, we'll have like the odd Blu-rays.
Older people, yes, but for a lot of younger kids and parents who buy those things nowadays.
But there's one key difference there when it comes to kid stuff as well, though, because a lot of kid stuff is kind of throwaway. I mean, obviously, this show is one of those ones that buck the trend, but a lot of like kid shows, they'll watch it when they're kids, but they'll never go back to it. So in a way, I can understand why parents would buy all that sort of stuff on DVD, because it's just a lot cheaper.
See, that's the thing, is that if there is an offering between Blu-ray and DVD anymore, I usually see people picking up the Blu-ray anymore, especially since they usually hold a DVD copy. The only reason that anyone for kids buys things on DVD is because they're only offered on DVD. So, yeah. But I don't know, it's kind of stupid, especially since, I mean, none of the MLP stuff here, and obviously none of the MLP stuff here in the US has been released on Blu-ray either, and it's all on DVD, which is incredibly stupid given the quality of the show. But but it just annoys me more that, yeah, we don't have the MLP on Blu-ray, but they were releasing the Equestria Girls stuff on Blu-ray, so to suddenly stop doing that really just
we never had Equestria Girls on Blu-ray here in the UK anyway. They've only ever released them on DVD here in the UK because they hate us here.
But yeah, but at least they're not removing it. It's just, I don't get, like, if you were doing it, why stop doing it? It's just like, that's even worse.
Well, I mean, they're not, admittedly, they're not, it's just 3 specials put together.
But it's still the same length. It's still the same length of the movie.
Well, it's slightly shorter, but not by a huge amount. I mean, the movies are 70 minutes, and these are like together will be 66.
It's not really, yeah. It's basically the same when you take out credit, the extended credit opening and credit sequences. Because the movie has a lot of that running time is like an extended opening credit sequence, and of course the extended credit sequence. But once you cut those out, it's basically the same amount of animation.
Also, much like why I think another reason why I think the DVDs, why they do still pump out a lot of DVDs, is kind of the same reason why people were still buying VHS when DVDs were actually becoming a thing. Was just that more people predominantly just had the means to play it rather than. But
here's the thing, that would be an argument to say 5 years ago, but Blu-rays have been on the market. Blu-rays have been on the market for over 10 years now. Over a decade.
Yeah. But
so to not release something in Blu-ray is, I think, unexcusable.
I guess, but it's down to cost, isn't it? I'm guessing Shout Factory feel that not enough people are going to buy these to warrant the extra cost.
But they've done it for 4 movies. 4 movies so far.
Yeah, but perhaps those movies on Blu-ray have not sold as well, and that's why they're not doing it here.
But they've done it for 4 years. 4 years.
Crystal ball.
So they would have stopped doing that earlier.
And it'll be interesting to see whether they'll do it. If there ends up being a 5th movie, that whether that will actually get a Blu-ray release. But I still find it bizarre, but.
I can understand, and I guess I can. The only reason why I'm more hard on this than I would be about them releasing the show on Blu-ray is because the show obviously is a lot more runtime. I mean, that's 26 episodes a season, so that's probably like a 2-disc Blu-ray. maybe. I mean, you could probably fit it all on one disc, but
I'm still more annoyed with that because I think that there would be a bit more of a market for that than there would be for the Equestria Girls stuff, because I think the show is more popular than Equestria Girls. Not saying that the Equestria Girls is unpopular, I'm just saying just in terms of, numbers. But then again, I suppose that they would think, well, Equestria Girls is aimed at a slightly older, or the intention is that it's aimed at a slightly older audience than the show. But like you say, I think, not having an option for Blu-ray now for anything nowadays is, it's getting a bit bad because, whilst not everyone may not necessarily have a Blu-ray player, I think virtually everyone now has a HD TV that at least outputs in at least 720p.
anyway, I need to get back onto what I was originally talking about here in terms of the episode score. So my point was that I was making earlier is that unfortunately, since we haven't released it in HD, haven't actually had an official release of these yet. I obviously haven't been able to get any of the score of this one, just like last week. Unfortunately, there was also not a TV rip in 5.1 surround, so I wasn't able to do just play you some pseudo background stuff. So I literally just have to play this directly from the episode. So there's a little bit less than I can show.
Spaz has now released one in 1080p, so I don't know whether that had the sound better.
Well, I don't know. I mean, but when I've gotten this, there was nothing released, so that was my point. So I don't have anything right now to do that.
But that only came out today, the Spaz rip, so you might want to check that out.
Well, I mean, it's useless to me now, but anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess gonna have to be able to feature a couple of things here, just of the audio, mainly just some of the chase music here was kind of fun, very very sort of Scooby-Doo-esque here. And I've got to fast forward this really quick because after they get put into the Power Ponies uniforms, that continues for the rest of the chase scene here.
You know what they should have used
here we
instead?
go.
They should have used.
Okay, so here's the second part of that chase scenes here. That one there definitely has a lot of the feel of of kind of a Scooby-Doo chase scene montage there. The only other one I can really show, because it doesn't have a lot of dialogue over it, is going to be the sort of the ending sequence here, where we get that final scene with Daring Do. So we get again some of that very Indiana Jones-esque parody music, like we would get in a lot of the Daring Do episodes in the actual show. There'll be a little dialogue here too.
You will give me the sword of Altoriosa.
I don't think so, stalwart.
Have it your way. Hostium, Prihomore. Odo, follow! Give up, Daring Do. The sword.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's harder to hear since it's the dialogue over it here. and here's the actual Indiana Jones part coming up here. Oops, I forgot to change this over. Oh well. So yeah, here comes the actual kind of Indiana Jones very sounding parody when Rainbow throws the rope here.
is so awesome!
Yeah, that kind of ends there. So that's about the few things I can show off. I can also show off the they had that same credits track again, which I'll play again because I really like it. Yeah, it's kind of just like a lot of the parody ones in the actual show. It parodies the style. It's kind of like the style of it without parodying the actual like song itself. It's more parody of the style. So that's about all I can show from the special here. But it's nice again, both Indiana Jones inspired sort of tracks as well as Scooby-Doo sort of style and instrumentation as well there for the chases. So what does everyone think of the episode's theme and moral?
Basically, as I mentioned before, don't be a dick.
The moral is make sure you carry plenty of extra pudding in your hair.
The moral is if you're in high school, don't expect to be cast in a professional production as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in middle school, go for it.
Oh yeah. So, favorite parts and any lingering concerns about it? About the special?
I just liked all the fangirling from Dash. That's just hilarious.
From Dash, Twilight, and Juniper as well.
Or I should now call her, considering that's what Fluttershy calls her, Dashy.
Yeah, that's actually one thing. That's one thing I wanted to mention. And we got sidetracked and something, so I forgot.
I think I've mentioned it in the chat about it as well.
But no, I mean one of the things I wanted to mention that I think we got sidetracked on something, so I forgot was it was funny seeing, of course, Rainbow Dash is someone who's very headstrong and wants to make it seem like she's so great and brave and stuff. But when she was all by herself chasing after that masked or hooded creature there, she got really scared. She started like showing that she was really scared and stuff. And when Twilight finally let her out of the whatever the prop storage room there, whatever that was, it was she was like so like excited to like get out of there. It was just kind of funny to see that.
She fueled the shippers very hard there.
Yeah. It was just kind of a funny little anti-thing about the kind of persona that she puts on and stuff. And of course the whole fangirling thing. I think my favorite parts of this would probably be like the fangirling, all the fangirling, all the funny stuff that revolved around that, like we mentioned. But I also really like Juniper, just because I'm kind of interested to see more of her and seeing kind of where they take her as it. I mean, she didn't have a huge like part in this, I guess. You know, she kind of just as the villain, but in the end, to be unmasked. But I did like her personality and her voice and character. I'm kind of interested to see where they're going to take that now that she's kind of out to get revenge on the girls there and in the future. So I'm definitely interested to see more of her. But definitely prime evil waifu material there.
Yeah. I enjoyed all the sort of nods to Scooby-Doo and Twilight Sparkle doing her very best Velma.
Yeah. Of course, she's the one to figure it out and give the explanation at the end.
Juniper is as proficient with nets as Robbie Rotten is. In fact, no, I think she's more proficient than Robbie Rotten is.
She actually put the net on her target. She is number one.
She looked at this net that she had found, and when she said go, she got ready to throw.
It's kind of interesting that now this just occurred to me that I remember when I was seeing one of the promotional shots a while back from this episode. I thought it was going to involve the Pony of Shadows because of that cloaked figure again. I was like, "Ooh, Pony of Shadows."
Hey, Rain. If they bring back the Pony of Shadows from the show, perhaps that is Juniper.
Dun dun dun. It was her all along.
That's exactly how we planned it.
Of course, it's genius.
Oh gosh.
Well, okay, it's not quite genius.
Yes, Tim. I want to hear Juniper Montage sing the number one song now. Yes. Oh gosh. So, any overall feelings? Any final thoughts on the special?
Yeah, Rainbow Dash's best Sporticus.
Yeah.
Also, it was. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a better mystery than Moon Monster Madness. I give it a solid meme magic out of 10.
Yeah, it was nice actually having something, one of these things revolve around an actual mystery. So always nice to see kind of a traditional kind of Scooby-Doo style mystery with the villain unearthed at the end there. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as Dance Magic. There was like just having the all the Crystal Prep girls back in that, because I that was great seeing them again, and that whole song sequence was kind of made that entire special for me. So I think it was a little more enjoyable, but this one had a little more substance to it, and especially in the story, and of course in the addition of Juniper Montage, and obviously they're going to be continuing that at some point with her returning, that evil Blair kind of says it all at the end. So it kind of has a little bit more substance to it because of that. But as a whole package, maybe slightly less enjoyable than the last one for me. But still fun, and I'm really looking forward to next week's now and seeing kind of what happens next in these specials. It definitely seems like the biggest one, obviously saving the biggest and best one for last. So I'm kind of interested to see what comes to play in that one. No, I guess not next week now, and another, what? I've lost track of what day it is. 3 days?
It's Wednesday.
4 days? I don't know what day it is anymore.
3 days.
So, yeah, it was good to have Noelle back as well. I hope she returns to writing more pony stuff in the future, because, of course, she gave us, she graced us with Maud Pie. So, and now she's graced us with Juniper Montage as well. So.
She seems to be really good at bringing new characters into this franchise.
Yeah, and she kind of expanded upon Coco's character as well, because that was the first time we'd seen Coco, I believe, since Rarity Takes Manhattan, and Made for Manhattan. Of course, Coco had a lot more focus in that, so hopefully we'll see her again at some point. Yeah, really looking forward to this weekend's episode, and of course, we will be. Yay! But of course, next week then we will be discussing Near Magic, the final Equestria Girls special. Next Tuesday, hopefully, back on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So that's going to be good. I think I've heard that there's also supposed to be additional shorts that are supposed to be released as well at some point from Equestria Girls. So I guess we'll see if those ever come to fruition this year or not, because we'll have to maybe set aside some time for discussing those as well. But of course, so next Tuesday, we will be discussing Mere Magic at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time here at CinemaQuestria.com. So make sure to join that. I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss about that next week, and of course we'll be all watching that live together here on our live chat this Saturday at 11:30 a.m. so you can kind of react along with us before we discuss it next week. Also coming this Saturday, we do have a new episode of CQ Riffs. This Saturday we'll be watching Star Wars: The Third Gathers, Backstroke of the West, which is the bootleg Chinese dubbed of Star Wars Episode 3. So if you want to see what the Chinese bootleg version of the subtitles are translated back to English, yeah, we'll be watching that. It's something a little different than what we normally do for riffs, but I've heard it's pretty enjoyable. So we'll be watching that and kind of seeing if it can even make the third movie better. Maybe it will make the movie better.
I noticed that they skipped trying to do Star Wars the first Woken Up, and the Star Wars the second. I'd rather watch someone filing taxes.
Those probably exist, but this was the one that I was able to find. I think it's probably the most like prolific one. So yeah.
I didn't mind Star Wars Episode 3. I thought out of the prequel.
Well, out of the 3 prequels, it's the best one, but that's not saying a lot.
That's basically yeah. I mean, it's saying having a dead arm is worse than having it chopped off.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, we'll be doing that this coming Saturday as well. So make sure to join us then. Besides that, that's about it for us today on Triple E. Stick around. There's something we will be showing up next really quick, so don't go anywhere. We'll be showing something real quick up next that I'm sure you'll want to see. So stick around. Other than that, thank you so much. We'll see you next Tuesday for our discussion on Mirror Magic. So bye-bye, everyone.
And also, since Mirror Magic is the last new special ever a while, I guess after that we go back to season 4 after next week.
Yep, and we'll be going. We're going to be back to our episode flashbacks while we'll be in the hiatus until whenever season 7 comes back on, probably sometime in August, I'm assuming. So we'll be doing that. So we'll see you then, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Later, folks.
See ya.
Bye bye.